talking. So that was a really nice opener there. And you said it was to celebrate the birthday of who exactly?
Yes. Let me just show you the my little instrument of persuasion. Uh, a couple of days ago, I sent Bobby Weir and Matt Bush a video of me wearing this Smokestack Lightning Howlin' Wolf shirt and informing them that today, the 10th of June, is Howlin' Wolf's birthday. And if you're counting candles, he would have been 113. And I said, so in Chicago, one of the greatest Chicago bluesmen, birthday, Smokestack Lightning, just saying. And Matt and Bobby agreed wholeheartedly. So that's how that Smokestack Lightning got in there. And you're welcome, America.
You did great, Lambert. Truckin' Smokestack Lightning, Althea, Mississippi Half Step, and I put a couple check marks next to Mississippi Half Step too. High Time,
Mm-hmm.
all along the Watchtower into Bertha, into Good Love, and that's a hell of a first set. And people, if you're
Yeah.
watching this as the free preview on the Nugsnet YouTube channel, first of all, isn't Gary doing an amusing job of trying to get himself? There you
Yeah,
go.
it's a little disorienting because on my iPhone it's a widescreen, and in the
All
little
right.
box on. I'm getting the hang of this though.
No, it's this is really fun, and by the end of the tour, you're gonna have this shit down, man. I just know it.
Oh
But
yeah, but and I'll have hair and makeup people and everything.
it's really fun to watch. But seriously, this is a Nugs thing, and the coverage has been amazing. I'm sitting here, seriously, my friends and I are in the living room here. Well, half of them are dancing, but the rest of us, me and Blair Jackson, are sitting here watching this with our musically astute selves and just being blown away by the energy coming out of that band.
Yeah, I know, and the band is just in such a good place in terms of the fun they're having. They've got a lot of friends and family. The band flew out to Chicago because this is such a great town, and people always have such a great time here. Last night I got to go out and I couldn't stay too long because I was so exhausted, but I caught some of LPGOV's Dead House set. So a lot of
Nice.
friends there. So it's these Grateful Dead takeovers of great American cities are one of my favorite things ever, and this is a really special one for this run of shows.
Well, I remember that in 2015 when we were all there for Fairly Well at Soldier Field, the entire town really made the entire Grateful Dead, multiple tribes welcome here. Anyway, we
Very
should
much
talk
so.
about Nugsnet a little bit and then go to our amazing interview that we have tonight. Nugs
Yes.
is streaming this show for in a variety of formats, including super high quality 4K video and stuff. They also have a huge audio library and now a streaming service that they're interested in having you check out. And again, if you're looking at this as the free preview on the YouTube channel, you can go ahead and pay for tonight's webcast stream and then go back and watch the first set uh, because it was pretty amazing, as Gary and I were just saying. And then watch the rest of it. And by the way, once you do that, you have 48 hours. You can watch it as many times as you want. And I've taken advantage of that several times over the course of this because I wanted to go back and revisit the music and see what I might have missed going by the first time. And there's not just dead related music, there's huge amounts of other music, Wilco and Bruce Springsteen.
Springsteen.
And I keep thinking we should print out a list that I can read here, but I never do it. I don't know why.
But all you have to do is go to nugs.net and look at the artists they offer. You will see lots of people that you love from the jam scene, from the post-Dead scene, from the Grateful Dead family, spin-off projects, and lots of Dead and Company. So check it out. There's a free trial, by the way, so you can do this at no
Right.
risk to yourself.
Bobby Weir and
The
Wolf
only risk being
Roses.
that's
Go
right.
ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. I said
No.
the only risk is that you're going to jump in. You're going to do it. You're going to get the subscription or whatever because it's pretty irresistible.
And it's a live music based system here. It's not downloading people's albums. It's listening to immense libraries of live performance. Anyway, let's get on to our interview because I'm really, really proud of this one. This guy's a wonderful musician. Gary, you do the honors, please.
Yeah, this is yet another gift to our scene from Don Was, uh, acting in his role as president of Blue Note Records, and also a native Detroiter who knew about this guy, Dave McMurray, a fantastic tenor saxophonist who is also a member of Don's old band, Was Not Was. and a really respected member of the scene in Detroit. He's played with all kinds of incredible people, and he put out an album, I guess 2 years ago, called Grateful Dedication. Followed it up with Grateful Dedication 2, and it's really unique interpretations of Grateful Dead music, delivered with kind of a soul jazz vibe to them, and they lend themselves to this approach just beautifully. So we had Dave on our radio show some time ago. We're really happy to have him for this. So we're going to jump to that interview. We'll let you know we won't be coming back after the break. We'll next be seeing you from Cincinnati. I'll be home. In fact, I'm getting on a plane at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, so I can get home in time to do Tales from the Golden Road from home, because I'm insane, ladies and gentlemen. So we wish you a happy rest of the show. I'm sorry I didn't bring a baseball as a prop to pull it out of the ivy, but next time. And David, have a great rest of the show to you and all your friends in your living room and in living rooms across America. And we'll be talking to you again soon. Enjoy.
Thanks,
David.
Gary. Enjoy your trip, the rest of the night and your trip home. I'll talk to you tomorrow on Sirius XM.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, what we learn more and more and more all the time is that the music of the Grateful Dead is something that's open to all kinds of amazing interpretations and departures and all of that. The band kind of built it to be that way. And one of the finest interpretations of that music that I've heard in a long time has come from our guest, Mr. Dave McMurray. Dave, so great to see you.
Yeah, good to talk to you again. Yes, yeah, and thank you for that.
Well, we're both big fans of both volumes. I've just been catching up on volume 2, and A Grateful Dedication is the name of the record, volumes 1 and 2, and we're both just huge fans of what you've been doing with this music. And I was just telling you before we went on live here about how much I love Oteil Burbridge's vocals on Scarlet Begonias.
Yeah, he did such a great job. It's funny. I did not know him. Of course, I knew about him, but he is such a cool guy, and he did such a great job. He had his own interpretation, which is what I loved.
Yeah, and of course, it makes total sense that this album is on Blue Note Records, the president of which is our good friend, great musician, old friend of yours, and a colleague going way back to Was Not Was, Don Was. And so I'm sure he had a lot to bring this thing together. And Don is also home folks. He's from Detroit himself, and and Detroit is a city with really deep jazz tradition, blues tradition, R&B tradition, and some psychedelic rock tradition. I'm sure Don can tell you stories about shows at the Grandee Ballroom with double bills like the MC5 and the Sun Ra Orchestra. So mixing up genres comes naturally to him and to Detroit. So I want to talk a little about your musical background and what it was like coming up in Detroit and how that shaped you as a musician.
I mean, it was totally because, on the radio would be all types of music. It would be some of everything. So I'd hear something and go, what is that? But it would always intrigue me. I never went to the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Festival or any of that. I was too young. Mom was like, no way, but it would intrigue me to see a concert and have the MC5 and Pharoah Sanders or, Sun Ra. And I was like, what? How does that would be intriguing to me, just going the combination of those musics, and I know they would fit. And so when I got a chance to do it, I would always hear the sax in whatever type of music I heard, whether it fit or not. I would hear myself and try to hear myself fitting, not taking over, but just trying to fit into music, because I've just loved all types of music.
Yeah, I have the experience listening to the Grateful Dead when I was younger, and I was also first getting into jazz right at the same time. As you can see, I'm a lover of the tenor. I've got wore some Lester Young appropriate garb for today's interview. And when I would listen to the Grateful Dead, I would say, man, I would love to hear some tenor on this tune. I'd love to hear some soprano on this tune, because it lent itself. The Grateful Dead wrote songs that were beautiful songs, but they always had spaces where they could open up, and they would open it. And they could bring, and over the years they could bring in guests, and their music was so diverse. They could be on stage with Willie Nelson, or they could be on stage with Ornette Coleman. and it worked, you know.
And it would work. Yes.
And another thing that I think makes this music particularly special and unique is that it really, there's always been a great appreciation for beautiful melodies in this work. It's not just about grooves and it's not just about improvisation. You know, Jerry has a beautiful, not a perfect voice, but a beautiful singing voice, and really
Yep.
delivered tremendous depth of emotion in both his playing and his singing and in his songwriting, which I think
Oh,
creates a fertile field for people like you to come in and explore it in new ways.
that is the key to it, because that's what I always listen to is the melody, is and how they deliver it. And once you get into the Grateful Dead, you hear all those melodies that he would write, and and because there's so many interpretations, I would hear how he's singing it, and whether he was in good voice or not, it had that quality in it, and it's the melody. They would make the chords fit the melody, even if the chorus would be an odd configuration, but you wouldn't even hear that because you're following the melody and it's just going on. You don't know it until you break the song down and you go, wait a minute, that's a 3/4 bar. He just stuck in the middle of nowhere, and it's like it's seamless though.
One of the keyboardists that worked with the Grateful Dead for some years told me in an interview once that, the songs, Bobby Weir would bring his songs in and they weren't entirely finished. He still was working on them, but the band would kind of complete them together. And he talked about how there would be all these little odd little things that kind of felt weird when you first confronted them. But once you
Right.
got used to the song, they worked perfectly.
Perfectly, yeah, because that's the key. But once you got it, you can't imagine it not being there. It's like, wow, how would that be not be there?
Right. And great melodies don't have to be complicated. That the simplest melodies can be turned into something by people who know how to improvise on melodies. One of the more mind-blowing experiences of my life is a couple of times, more than once, I've heard Sonny Rollins make like a 10-minute masterpiece out of something like Pop Goes the Weasel. Some little children's nursery song, and he could just find all the variations in it. And like I said, the Grateful Dead wrote their music to have that kind of architecture that you could just take these songs. And also, jazz players have always gone to the standards, what we call the Great American Songbook. I feel like Grateful Dead and the Beatles and Dylan, that's our new great songbook. Those are our new standards. So there's such a
Well,
fertile
that is the
field.
way to look at it. That
Yeah.
definitely is the way to look at it, because it is.
So how did you go about choosing the songs? It's such a large book to draw from, and it seems like volume two you picked more of the songs that sort of expand and open up, like Bird Song and Playing in the Band, that had room for more improvisation. And I can imagine that you'll be stretching them out a lot further in your live shows. But
Oh,
how did you pick the songs that you have recorded here?
well, it's like we were talking about the melody. That's kind of where I go. I just go. Because it's no vocals. I want people to identify with it when they hear it, whether I'm something, and then they'll get sucked in as it goes. So I like songs like, even like songs with a great intro, and then you got the melodies that's going to go with it, where people are going to sing it, whether you're singing it or you're playing it or not. I play it because I'm thinking, when I'm playing the melody, I'm always thinking how they were singing it, trying to not take their inflections, but kind of use how they were doing it. And I love when the greatest compliment when somebody's like, "Oh, I felt like Jerry was singing." It's like, well, that's the best compliment in the world, because that's what I'm thinking. I want people to feel what those songs made them feel, even though they're not hearing any lyrics.
Yeah, the instrumental part becomes an extension of the storytelling. And of course, one of the great jazz stories of all time, which I've told people many times, story about Ben Webster playing a ballad, an instrumental of a ballad, and he stopped playing in the middle of it. And they said, "Ben, why did you stop?" And he said, "I forgot the words."
Right. And I understand that totally, because he's singing in his head. I mean, he's playing, but you're hearing it. You're hearing it. I like that.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
I'm glad you told that. That's a good one.
One of the combinations on the album that really it sort of sums up all the musical diversity you could ever hope for is the version of "To Lay Me Down," which has a great emerging country star Jamie Johnson on it, and it opens with a tenor solo that it kind of evokes the spirit of Pharoah Sanders or someone like that, who was a big hero of mine. And so I'm already completely pulled in, and then it takes that turn into the song form. And then Jamie sings it so soulfully with such depth. And then you come back in solo and you take it a little freer, and then it goes back to the song. Just a really ingenious way of making us look at that song in a different way.
I mean, it's funny the way you just described it. We kind of talked about it like that because it's funny. We had another song. I wanted Jamie to sing. We had another song he was going to sing, and 2 days before the session, Don says, "I don't know, Dave. Let's think of another song." Just and I was like, "Okay," Then because this was one he sent me like 4 or 5 songs to listen to. Just he says, "Which do you feel any of these?" And one of them was "If I Had the Word to Give." And I was like, "Well, we can't do that one because I'm going to do that one with Bob James." I hadn't done it yet. It's like, but I'm definitely going to do that with Bob James. And then when it got to Lay Me Down, I was like, "Wow, I can hear him singing that," And I was like, "Well, what about that one?" He said, "Great." So the cool part about this session is I got a chance for the whole band to go upstate New York and to record at this place that had like living quarters and they had like 24-hour access to the studio. And also Darren came too, which was great. And also Elliot Shiner, which is the engineer, he came also. So it was like a cool situation where we were just there, and we're there to make music. We had a few days to do it. So when we went in the studio, Don said, "Well, I want everybody to be here, and then we're gonna do it." And he said, but don't fool with it yet. So when we all got assembled, it was like he described it to me. He just said, "Okay, I want it to be, just do whatever you go, wherever you go." He wasn't talking in musical terms, but in feeling, and he says, "Just build it up, do wherever you go, break it down." And then he said, "Just Jamie, guitar, and wherever it goes." And then it goes, further after that into a solo. And then it comes back to Jamie. He described it. He was kind of describing it. And everybody's like, "Okay." And he says, "Unlike anything you heard." So he says, "Don't think about the radio or anything. Let's just do it." And we talked about it, musically. I worked it out we worked it out. And then when they turned the tape on, we did it. And that was the take. And then we did one more after it. And then when we talked about it, I said, the first take was the one, because it did it. Somehow it did it, and everybody was amazed, like, wow, it did it. It built up and it came.
That fits into my belief that generally speaking, the second to last take is the one that gets used.
Right.
And since you only did 2 takes, the first take was the second to last take. So that's great.
Right.
If for those who are just tuning in, we're talking with Dave McMurray, who's just published the 2nd volume of a wonderful collection called Grateful Dedication on Blue Note Records. And Gary and I are both huge fans of both volumes of this, so I would recommend that you go looking for both of them. We can't play it for you in the middle of this interview because we're just doing a little short video interview, but you must go listen to this record. It is just beautiful from top to bottom.
Yes, indeed. If you want to sum up the Grateful Dead's musical universe in a nutshell, think about that one song. It's a song with kind of a gospel feel, with a country singer, and that Pharoah Sanders like space on it. It's like
right.
It's kind of like one-stop shopping, But
all in one song.
Yeah, and I was really, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I now understand you already had some history with him, but seeing Bob James's name on the album, Bob James is a famous solo artist, arranger, composer of TV themes, put out a lot of great records on CTI records in the 70s and 80s. But, not someone I would have associated with this kind of a venture, but you played with Bob before, huh?
Yeah. Bob has been my champion for years. He actually, my first record deal, he was working at Warner Brothers and he signed me to it, and and it was a great relationship then because his whole idea was just so I was like, of course, doing some weird music, like I would do, and but he was just intrigued. He was just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like he just thought it was the weirdest music because I was trying to put hip hop with weird, dirty music and stuff, and he's like, so he signed it, but and then and when I did, I did one of them trying to be palatable to the radio and stuff. He came to me and said, "Look, don't do that. I want you to be you. Whatever, like I, do that." So that is stuck in my mind. That was in like 94, 95.
Yeah.
That's always stuck in my mind. Just do what And so of course I thought I played with him through the years, and he's such a he looks so straight laced, but he's really not. He's like
Yeah.
musically, he's like
Yeah.
so wide. So when I mentioned the Grateful Dead, he was like, "What? You want? Yeah, I was like, yeah, I want to play." So
That's great.
then it went from there.
We're starting to run out of time here. I want to ask you about Don Was a little bit. Did you, what you've been playing with him since the Was Not Was days in the early 80s, right? Did you
Yeah.
have any idea when you first started working with him that he was going to wind up being such a king of the universe and running Blue Note Records and all? I mean, he's such an amazing dude. And I interviewed him for music magazines back then, and it sort of seemed like he had big things in store, but
No, I'm telling you, I tell people he was the first person. He had the craziest idea. He said, "Dave, okay, look, what we're going to do is Elvin Jones, Joe Henderson meets like a punk group all in one time, and he's got all these visions, and it's getting funky and it's dance and it's this." And I'm looking at him like, "Wow, okay, yeah, let's go." It's like, so we start playing, but he was the first person to say, "We're going to do this. We're going to finish the record. We're going to go on the road, and then we're going to do this." He had like a plan. Now
he seems
everybody says that.
yeah, seems to
I'm
have
going to call.
executed it really well. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember that first Was Not Was record with, freaking Mel Torme on there, for God's sake.
Yeah, yeah,
Zaz turned blue, a
Yeah.
masterpiece. And
but he did it.
Yeah.
to me, it's always so satisfying and sort of vindicating when someone like Don Was becomes the head of a label, because record companies, a lot of them are run by people who are about cranking out the product and sticking to a formula that'll
Right.
sell billions of records. And when record companies are run by music people who have music deep in their soul, Blue Note, of course, the whole history of Blue Note from the time Alfred Lyon founded it through Bruce Lundvall and now to Don Was. And Don Was is so in touch with this generation. He's not trying to do a
Right.
retro version of Blue Note. He's about what Blue Note is now. And I think it's maybe one of the smartest hires in the history of music was getting Don Was running that label. And you're an indication of that you've been given a space to do this stuff there.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, he always had that vision, and he's a logical person when you think like you just said, Bruce Lundvall, those are some incredible shoes to fill,
Yeah, for sure.
in that world. But hey, he's managed to do it.
Hey, I really hate to say it, but we have run out of time. We have to end this so that we can turn it back over to Nugs, who will turn it back over to Dead and Company to play the second set of the
All right,
show.
there we go.
David, thank you so much for being with us. We love your album. We wish you nothing but the best with it, and hope you take it out on the road.
Yeah, I want to see you
Yeah,
play. Yeah.
we're doing the July 2nd Dead and Company after show in Boulder, Colorado. So
Oh,
yeah, you
oh,
guys.
I'm going to be in Boulder, I hope. So
Oh well, please
I,
just let me. You're in.
I'm,
Please come.
yeah, I'm working on the possibility of making it to Boulder, and you just made it even more enticing. So,
Okay, very cool.
Dave, great talking to you as always, and I hope we have the pleasure again soon.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
great
you.
talking to you guys too. Okay, see you soon.
Take care.
If you play nice, you're gonna harvest the rain. Oh, you got to roll away. You do. Roll away. You do, yeah. Roll away. You do. Roll away. You do. Frankenstein before we sleep. Like 14 hounds, the lighthouse keep. Wildflower seed on